Hi everyone. Hello, hello, hello. This is Penny from Whack-A-Witch Astrology. Today I'm doing something just a little bit different. Hold on, let me get some jams on for us. So I am going to be making bath bombs here on YouTube Live. And while I'm making these bath bombs, I also want to talk a little bit about the current planetary energies and how they're not even necessarily affecting us, just what the energies in themselves actually are. So I've already got my dry mixture here for the bath bombs. You're going to see me kind of mixing this up and advancing it all throughout the video. And I also have my slowly melted cocoa butter and coconut oil combination here. You can tell it's dark because I already put some food coloring in it. I was trying to get everything set up already so that I could avoid having any brands in this, but then I realized my food coloring, the individual package doesn't have a brand name on it anyway, so it's not really a big deal, but it's just regular food coloring basically. And I put my essential oils in there and everything. So after slowly melting this and letting it cool down, looks very dark right now. You'll see what color it actually is once I pour it into the dry mixture. After slowly melting it and letting it cool down, that's when I mix in the remainder of the ingredients. And then I'm going to be slowly pouring it into this big bowl of dry ingredients for my bath bombs. So, what planetary energy should I talk about first? I already have a video about Jupiter and Sagittarius. I know it kind of continues to affect us as it throws us into new learning experiences, really. It's about expansion, adventure, experiencing something that takes you a little bit outside of yourself, outside of your own personal norm. So that's what the Jupiter and Sagittarius energy is doing. And we also have Chiron in a very headstrong fire sign, Aries. Chiron in Aries is pushing us to move forward, to again have new experiences, to put ourselves out there, to take some risks, and not to let the baggage from the past affect us anymore, because Aries energy doesn't really have patience for any of that kind of thing. Chiron is all about healing, and Aries is all about go, go, go. So Aries being kind of reckless perhaps isn't the easiest place for Chiron to be. And we might end up picking up some new experiences, for better or for worse, along the way as we are going through this Chiron and Aries transit. Another thing that is happening right now is Uranus is in Taurus. So that's another really weird energy we have, because Taurus is all calm. Taurus is about nice, stable, consistent, safe spaces to be in. And Uranus is about mixing things up. It's about abrupt changes being thrown about. So really this whole combination of transits is taking us out of our comfort zone. The one planet that we have that is still in its kind of like home natural sign is, oh, well, we have two. We have Saturn in Capricorn, and we have Neptune in Pisces. Now, Neptune is right at home in Pisces because it's all about dreaming. It's all about emotional connection and intuition. So we have that nice dreaming energy. And to me, Neptune and Pisces kind of feels like we're coming home. Feels like emotionally everything's going back to the way that it's meant to be. That's how I feel about that specific energy. But of course, there's a lot of other things going on as well. There's a lot of other more emotionally challenging aspects. And I really feel that Uranus and Taurus is one of the ones that is really making people uncomfortable right now. So what I'm doing right now is I'm stirring in a liquid mixture. This has to be done with a lot of care. It's a delicate situation. Even though we have Pluto and Saturn and Capricorn right now, wanting to change things, wanting to bring about a lot of constructive revolution. Capricorn has big dreams, big ambitions. We still have that need for the patience. Some of these changes might feel like things that we're not really ready for. So one thing about bath bombs is you're supposed to have a fairly temperature controlled and moisture controlled environment in order to make them. And I have this really bad habit of always wanting to make bath bombs on rainy days. And you're actually not supposed to make bath bombs on rainy days. But I like making them on rainy days. So that's what I'm doing right now. It's a little bit gloomy outside today. So I like having this activity. So I always find it interesting that Sagittarius is the one fire sign that is really concerned with learning and education. Fire is a very emotionally fueled and oftentimes impulsive energy, but Sagittarius is one of the more intellectual signs. It's associated with things like going to college, going to visit Israel, really, really spiritual places and places where we learn things. Not only do we grow as a person with Sagittarius energy, but we also discover more about who we are. Sagittarius is also a great energy for moving forward. Sagittarius cares very deeply about many things, whether they be experiences or people or historical sites, historical events, all kinds of things like that. It's not that Sagittarius is aloof. Sagittarius has this intense ability to care. And yet Sagittarius is known for being somewhat weightless and free-spirited at the same time. So they can let things go, they can move on. But you'll see certain things that they just can't let go of, that they're so passionate and emotionally fueled that they can even become like a little bit obsessive, whether it's obsessive about a new thing they're learning, obsessive about a vacation they want to take. And that's one of the things that makes Sagittarius such a good sign and such a good energy for manifestation. Because Sagittarius, even though it has that levity and free-spiritedness, doesn't let go of the things that it cares about. It doesn't forget about the things that are important. And Sagittarius has a pretty good ability to focus, since it's that mental concentration that requires the archer to be able to aim the arrow. But sometimes that focus can become a little too intense, even to the point of obsession. So look to see where you have Sagittarius in your chart and ask yourself if maybe you're a little bit obsessive in that area. For me, I have Sagittarius in my 4th house, and I feel like I can be obsessive about the way my home looks. And it can really, really upset me if someone moves something. I'm not able to have it as clean as I want it. And I'm not like the most clean person in the world. I'm just a little bit nitpicky, honestly. So the energy of Uranus and Taurus, the fact that it has come to this, that Uranus has moved into Taurus, shows that there really must be some things that need to change. I think Uranus being in the other signs has helped us realize and come to conclusions about some of these things that need to change. You know, especially in Aries. Aries is such a proactive sign. All of the cardinal signs are about energies that need change, that need new structure. And that's why cardinal signs are also associated with leadership. So those cardinal signs are Aries and Cancer, Libra, and Capricorn. So when I was born, Uranus as well as Neptune were in Capricorn. Oh, I put too much in at once. Another thing about bath bombs is with this food coloring, I end up messing up my hot pot holders, which honestly, I shouldn't even be putting this on the hot pot holder right now. Oh, this isn't a hot pot holder. This is a coaster that I crocheted. I apologize for the confusion. So that's a coaster that I crocheted. The good thing is they're actually pretty easy to wash. You might think they'd be troublesome, but I've washed them with no troubles. Because that food coloring and oil can be a little bit messy. But I love that the food coloring really changes the mood of the bath, when it changes the whole color of the water you're soaking in. And the oil, of course, gotta stir fast. The oil moisturizes your skin. And the essential oils are very nice as well, both for the scent and for the mood. So when you get a chance, go ahead and let me know in the comments what you thought of this video. I'll be able to tell to some extent based on how many views it gets. But like I said, this is experimental, and I don't know if you guys ever want me to do anything like this again. So it's really interesting to read about the energy of the centaurs, like Chiron and, I don't know if I'm going to say it right, but Pholus. Pretty sure I said that right. It's hard to know when you are used to reading something rather than talking about it, reading about something. One thing about Aries is when they know there's a problem, they usually want to fix it pretty quickly. And I think we're at a point with Aries in, or Chiron and Aries, where we all know there's a lot of problems. There's a lot of problems in our individual lives, as well as our society. We really want to be able to fix them. But economically and materially, trying to actually make those changes happen, trying to actually be able to fix things, we face a lot of resistance, mostly for those financial reasons. You know, like if there's something wrong with the world around us, there's so many people who are controlled by their greed, and a lot of things aren't going to be fixed unless we as a society not just overcome greed, but conquer it. Because I think there probably are some individuals out there who are so consumed by their greed that we really need to come to a point where we just don't allow them to continue that. Maybe that's why Uranus is in Taurus right now. Changing the way we handle our material possessions. We know there's a lot of people out there we need to cure, we need to help. We need to help ourselves too. Because people who are letting their lives be so heavily influenced by greed, they're really probably sick. They probably have some areas where they need healing, even if they don't think about it. They probably don't think it's a problem, but I'm sure they notice other problems in their life, and they might not realize that those things are connected. But maybe Neptune and Pisces will connect us more with our intuition so that we can better understand that. And we can see the reality that feels like a dream, that we are all connected. And my mixture is turning blue. Blue and beautiful. So now that I've talked about most of the slow moving planets, and I've even talked about Chiron as well, I might get into talking about the Sun and Venus and Mercury, maybe even Mars here for a little bit. So we recently had both Venus and Mercury move into Libra, which is a nice, very diplomatic sign. Libra's strength and also their downfall is how considerate they are. Sometimes that consideration goes a little bit more on the concerned side, like concerned about how other people will feel about what's going on, what they'll think, what they'll say. And we have this energy that's just now moving into Libra. As it enters Libra, it comes into opposition with Chiron. Because Aries is like, okay, see a problem, fix the problem, ask questions later. Libra understands that we need to consider how other people feel about it. We need to see, first of all, do they want the problem fixed? If they want the problem fixed, how do they want it fixed? When can we fix it? And Libra is unlikely to do anything on its own. Libra consults other people, cares about how they feel. So I would say that Libra is a very good place for both Venus and Mercury. It's a good time to get to know people a little bit better, to ask for their perspective on things. And especially once Mars enters Libra and comes into opposition with Chiron, that's going to be a time where we really have to be careful about our actions. And there might even be some situations that arise where it feels like everything we do is wrong. No decision's really the right decision. One thing that's kind of hard is when you do something for yourself. When you take that Aries initiative to do something for yourself, because it's something you need, it's something that'll help you, it's something to bring you peace and prosperity. But then for some reason, it interferes with the prosperity and the peace and the actions of others. It can feel like a very difficult decision deciding what to do if you know that other people aren't happy with it or might feel like it doesn't correspond with your own plans. You might even feel like it negatively affects them in some way. But you have to ask yourself, is it really unfair? Is it truly unfair? Is it actually taking something away from them, or is it just not really what they wanted you to do? So these big decisions we make that are so conflicting, in astrology, they're oppositions. So when I come to an opposition in my life, I keep in mind that there is a point where the two opposing forces have to meet. There's a point where they agree, and I do feel there's a point where they're both satisfied, even if it might initially feel like one has to make a small temporary sacrifice. You know how sometimes you do something and someone's a little bit upset with you at first, but then they realize it worked out better for them anyway, that you did that thing? Well, I think there's a lot of times in life that we have those kinds of situations. And when I have a hard decision to make, I always remind myself that what is truly best for others is also best for me. And what is truly best for me is also best for others. Because if I'm doing things that are not good for me, and I think I'm helping others by doing things that are not good for me, but then that Pisces energy reveals the fact that we're all really connected, then we can easily tell in reality no one is benefiting from me doing something that is damaging to myself. And in turn, if I do something that's damaging to them, You know, if I were to let my greed control me, my shadow side Taurus greed, if you will, because Taurus does not have to be a greedy sign, but that can be one of the negative shadow side things, not just of Taurus, but just of that energy in the world. And like I said earlier, we have Uranus in Taurus right now. And I feel like that is addressing and trying to shake up the greed that is actually affecting us all. And I think greed is bad for the person who is greedy. I think it hurts them. And it's also bad for the people who are being taken from. Greed is something that hurts everyone. You know, I was raised Catholic, but I don't really follow Catholicism anymore. But I do think perhaps there's some truth to the 7 deadly sins, because things like greed and gluttony, whether you're partaking in greed or you're partaking in gluttony, that is something that is damaging to you as well as the world around you. Because if you take more than what you need, it takes away from the world around you. And if I figure out where to put everything, I made a bit of a mess. So if you take more than what you need, it takes away from the world around you. And then it also hurts you. You know, there's ways that it'll affect our health negatively. I think a lot of times when people have way more than they need materially, they end up feeling empty and they end up just feeling like they need more. Let's see. Oh, probably need to set this in my hand first. See if it stays together. Yeah, I would say that's probably about ready to be turned into bath bombs. So one thing that's really unfortunate about these is they pretty much always fall apart during transportation. So I don't know how well I'm ever going to be able to ship them out. I feel like if I ship them out, they're just going to be powder. If these don't stay together, I'm probably just going to cut off the video. Don't need my failures to be public. It's okay though, because even if they do fall apart, your bath is still going to be just as nice. Like, you won't get the satisfaction of being able to drop a perfect ball into your bath. But I don't think that's the best part anyway. All right, I'm going to grab some baggies to put these in. This one at least appears to be staying together. Is my music still playing? Oh, yeah. That's a song. It's happening.
It's still playing?
Yeah, my music is still playing. It's all good. Okay. Sorry, part always makes me a little bit nervous. Like one false move and it just goes everywhere. The powder will just collapse. So since it is a rainy day, I ended up putting less water in these than I normally do. It's just what was necessary. Bath bombs are one of those things that require a lot of trial and error. I don't know if anyone else here has made pancakes from scratch, but my first like 20 attempts at making pancakes was no good. They just fell apart. And my first 20 attempts at making bath bombs was pretty much the same. Whoop. All right. Got a nice, perfect round bath bomb. They kind of look like blue eggs. This one might be a little overstuffed. When I said overstuffed, it made me think of food. You know, I wonder if Uranus and Taurus is going to change our food behaviors too. I feel like while Uranus has been in Taurus, the most popular foods have actually changed. I haven't looked up statistics on it, but just based on what I've seen, I feel like there has been a change in the foods people like and the foods that they like the most. And their spending habits when it comes to food. Like, which foods do they spend money on? So far, so good. I get the other side. I was actually thinking just the other day, maybe I should get some kind of certification for nutrition coaching, because I used to read a lot about nutrition and I still know a lot about it. I understand a good deal about it. And I like talking about it. So I think it would be nice and it would go well with other things I do if I was actually able to consult people on which foods they're eating and which foods might end up working better for them than what they've already been consuming. I used to have a really strict diet. Now I think the change was even before. Yeah, it was before Uranus entered Taurus. Change in my diet was during Uranus and Aries. And I used to have a really strict diet because I wanted to be as physically fit as possible. And I didn't want to have a lot of body fat. I just wanted to have muscle. So I was eating so strict that I wasn't really enjoying food. And it interfered with my ability to eat socially. Which I know when we talk about like social eating and social drinking, we think like, oh my gosh, peer pressure. Other people are making you do things you don't want to do. But I know that's one way to look at it, but from studying astrology, I think we know that there's two sides to every story. So you can either look at it as peer pressure, or you can look at it as a bonding experience. We are sharing an experience together. And as one of my Taurus rising friends pointed out, she believes that food is a great bonding experience. It's a really important social time, and especially an important time with people you care about. So our relationship with food probably affects our relationships with a lot of the people in our lives too. And that's one thing that was hard about having a strict diet. And I know a lot of people have the problem where they're ready to go on a diet. They're ready to change their life for the better. They're ready to start eating healthier. But the people in their life don't eat healthy. And not only does it make it harder to stick to a healthy eating plan when everyone around you is eating something different, but sometimes it can even ostracize you. You know, you might have people make negative comments. You might have people who are unsupportive. So that's one of the negative effects of like how food can affect our relationships. But there's a lot of positive ways that it can affect our relationships too, like family meals. You know, it's a time to just sit down and catch up with each other, see what you were doing in your day, see how your week has gone so far. And I think, at least in America, I know family meals were not happening as often. Pretty much, like, personally, my whole childhood, we almost never did family meals. Like, I feel like throughout my entire youth, from birth to moving out, I can probably count on one hand the amount of family meals we had. Make sure the other side will come out. Yep, see, that's why I did this. Because it's being stubborn. Yeah? So that's probably why this Uranus and Taurus energy was long overdue. You know, we need to change our food experiences, our eating experiences. I think every country has its own personal need for change in how they deal with food, whether it's how they grow food, how they sell food, how they process food. You know, when we have all that like processed food and stuff, how often families are going out to eat, how we budget our time for cooking and all that stuff, who does the cooking. Just so many things regarding food need change right now. And like I said, it's change that's going to happen slowly. And it's change that's going to happen only when we are all aware of how much we need that change. I feel like that might not be enough. And I feel like one of the changes I started to notice around the holidays is that actually a lot of times it was cheaper to eat out than it was to buy food because the prices at the grocery store got so expensive. I don't know if anyone else had that experience. But I feel like the price of food at the grocery store, at least where I'm living, went up so much faster than the price of food at restaurants has. So that's one of the changes my family made in food, is that I wasn't cooking as many meals. I feel like I'm like packaging little eggs. Sending them home to be hatched. Yeah, I'm running out of space. It's hard because I don't normally have all my like filming equipment up here while I'm doing this as well. Where am I gonna put these? Well, at least I'm almost done. I think I'm fairly close to being done. I'm trying to get some more music on.
Mom, do you know what happens when I paint?
What happens when you paint?
I get calm. So yeah.
Cool. My daughter says that painting makes her calm.
I made this with a paintbrush. Like I made the back to like scrape it and make the eyes so we know where to cut. So yeah. We can put the mouth. We can put like a candle in the mouth. Like bam. We like make.
You want it to be like a jack-o'-lantern kind of?
Yeah. It's like a jack-o'-lantern, but it's like a pumpkin lantern. Like when you put a candle in a pumpkin, bam, it's glowing. But it's a ghost. It's actually my ghost.
Yeah.
Guess we're gonna need to make the top plate.
No! All right, let's throw that back in. Sometimes when you make a lot of bath bombs at once, you'll have to kind of re-stir and maybe even add more of the liquid mixture in towards the end because the consistency is different at the bottom. So I came up with this scent for these bath bombs on accident many months ago. I was really just closing my eyes and using my imagination. And I loved the scent that I came up with, but I'm like, oh my gosh, what astrological sign would that be though? And for a moment, I thought maybe it's Pisces. You know, it has like kind of this like relaxed yet adventurous energy to it. But I'm like, I don't know. Like I'm actually kind of feeling like this is a Libra vibe right here. And that's what I decided, Libra. And it makes sense because I love Libras. And I have so many of them in my life, so it makes sense that I would love the Libra bath bomb as well. But for the record, the Pisces bath bomb I ended up making is very similar. Still has that kind of like daydreaming effect, but it's more of like a imaginative and exploring your feelings. This is more of a balancing scent. Very heavy on the relaxing, not that heavy on the sedation though. Although I do feel like after taking a bath with one of these, yeah, I need to stir that again.
Dave, you get this.
So after taking a bath with these, I end up feeling relaxed enough to want to do things that I didn't want to do before my bath.
Yummy and
I feel like this scent is really good for bringing you back to your own personal zen. Just a little bit more of the liquid mixture in. See how that helps. So I'm actually relieved that this video is only 40 minutes long so far. I'm getting faster at making bath bombs after all this practice. Granted, I did have a little bit of preparation before the video. So I'm curious to look up statistics about like how many more people decided to go to college or to travel during this period of Jupiter and Sagittarius. I think when Jupiter was in Cancer, I took the time to look up statistics. Like after the year was over, after Jupiter had left Cancer, I took the time to look up statistics about how many more babies were born during that period. It did seem like a lot of people were having babies during Jupiter and Cancer. Okay, so maybe it needed less, not more. Ah! Oh well. I'll clean that up. That's what I get for trying to show you. Showing you my mistakes instead of hiding them. Then I made a new mistake. So yeah, I added a little bit more liquid, and I think I misjudged and actually probably didn't need more. My house ends up smelling nice for like at least a week after I make these. I don't usually make spills that big either, but I'm going to clean this up afterwards. That one looks like an egg. Ta-da! After a big failure or two, I had another success. Hi, Jade. So who else has been like really emotional about their failures? I feel like I've overcome a lot of that recently. I don't know if it's just a maturity thing or a life circumstance thing. Like I finally have come to a point where I understand more about the world and I don't just let other people criticize me all the time without reason. And I have enough people in my life who've been supportive by now that I know that I'm not the most awful, worst failure to ever exist. But Capricorn energy is, in my opinion, the underdog. I think a lot of people have said like Aquarius is kind of the underdog too. I don't really think of Aquarius as the underdog though. I think of Capricorn as more of the underdog. Capricorn energy is very slow moving, but has big dreams and big ambitions. So Capricorn might be slow to achieve their dreams, but as long as they keep going and they don't get discouraged and they don't let that fear of failure control them, then they can get pretty far. And since Pluto's in Capricorn right now, I think we all need to kind of learn that and channel into our own Capricorn energy. Especially think about, where do we have Capricorn in our charts? I have Capricorn in my 5th house. So I end up being very ambitious about the things that I enjoy. And one of the blessings that I've been discovering is that I've had so many experiences for personal growth within my hobbies, my fitness hobbies. And I always get chances to learn new things, to meet new people, to teach new classes. I even have someone who had just moved to the US and was just now starting to learn English, who started coming to my fitness classes. And she was quiet and she didn't say anything about it. She didn't introduce herself or anything like that, but I kind of noticed that she wasn't picking up on the verbal cues. So I went ahead and I talked to her afterwards. It turned out she had only been learning English for a month. She's still doing a heck of a lot better than I would be doing if I had only been working on the language for a month, I think. But you know, sometimes having those situations that make us uncomfortable, where we get thrown into a situation and then we just have to figure it out afterwards, sometimes that ends up being a very productive push to get to where we want to be. And with this Uranus and Taurus energy, sometimes we're getting those pushes that we didn't want, but that actually ended up being good for us. Like, oh no, the thing that I thought was predictable, the thing that I thought was stable, is no longer stable. Can't rely on that anymore. The structure of how things used to be is no longer. You know, I actually have Taurus in my 9th house. So that has to do with education and religion for me. And I've had so many questions and doubts about my own educational and religious experiences lately. And going to college and getting my degree wasn't what I expected it to be at all. I tried to go with something that I thought was a sure way to have steady income and a stable life. And then it ended up being my hobbies that paid off more. But like I said, that's because I have Pluto transiting my 5th house right now, and my 5th house is ruled by Capricorn. But then I have Taurus in my 9th house right now. Well, Taurus is always in my 9th house, but I have Uranus in my 9th house right now. It's always a little harder to finish up these bath bombs towards the end. And then another thing is you never know if they're going to fall apart as they're drying. I still haven't figured out a way to tell if that's going to happen. It's just if it happens, it happens. It's one of those Uranus and Taurus things. Unpredictable situations. You never know what's going to be stable and what isn't. But like I said, sometimes those challenges can be good for us. I think Gemini is the sign that really enjoys surprises more. I might even say that Gemini enjoys surprises the most. I think some people might expect that to be Aquarius, but in my experience, Aquarius, being a fixed sign, can often feel very disrupted by something that they weren't expecting. Sometimes even a little frustrated. So I haven't announced it on Facebook yet, but Aquarius did actually win the contest, for which Venus sign is going to be uploaded publicly both to YouTube and to Facebook. And I was kind of expecting Scorpio to win just because that's the video that was most popular and it had the most views. But I'm not surprised that Aquarius won, because not only do people who date Aquarians have trouble understanding them, but I have Aquarians who message me saying that they don't understand themselves and asking me for insight. So I know we all wanted those answers on Aquarius. But I felt a little bit insecure about how good my video was, because one, it didn't get as many views, which is okay, but I had never actually dated someone with Venus in Aquarius, so I wasn't as confident talking about it. Whereas with Venus in Scorpio, I had dated multiple Venus and Scorpio people. It's also just a more common placement than Venus in Aquarius is. So I might not actually have enough powder left to make another bath bomb, but I'm trying. This one I might have to just kind of dump into the baggie. All right, where's my baggie? Well, this one will be for me. Honestly, most of these will probably be for me, because I don't know if anyone's going to buy any of them. And anyone in my home is welcome to use them as well. Sometimes I give them to people after torturing them in my fitness classes, but I wouldn't even say that's giving them away for free, because they earn those. They work very hard for them. They don't even know that they're working for them. It's dream dust, like the Sandman. I'm gonna go sprinkle it on people while they sleep. So these are all natural ingredients that are good for your skin. My favorite thing about these is the moisturizing effect, though. Like, I had no idea how much I was actually going to enjoy that, because I do not feel obligated to put lotion on after my bath when my bath already moisturized me. And my bath moisturizes me more evenly and more productively than any lotion I've ever used in my life. And it requires less effort. It's actually a time for relaxing, whereas I have to move around and get into crazy positions if I'm going to put lotion on my body. So that ended up being the thing that I've enjoyed about my homemade bath bombs the very most. Watch me make another mess. Now, I definitely feel like I've been pushed out of my comfort zone a lot lately, but I think it's my Mars and Gemini that makes me always excited about that. Ta-da! My table is now covered in bath bombs. I'm not even going to try to show you everything, because if I move something, I might drop the camera on top of the bath bombs, and it's not worth the risk. But Anyway, thank you for joining me and being a part of this experience here today. Make sure you're following me on Facebook so you get notifications about transits and opportunities we have, contests we have, and all that kind of stuff. And if you want to support me on Patreon, you'll have a chance to receive stuff like this. Like I said, I don't know if it's even a good idea for me to try to sell these really, because they're going to fall apart, and they're honestly, by the time they ship, they're probably just going to look like this. And I don't feel like I can reasonably expect them to end up looking anything other than like this after being sent through the mail, post office. But thank you for watching. My hands smell good. Oh, I want to take a bath. Bye.